Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw, and welcome to my final album review on this channel, and it happens to be The Final Frontier by Iron Maiden. So let's jump into this album, let's complete the Iron Maiden discography now. So, interestingly enough, this is one of the few Iron Maiden records before this discography was picked that I actually have listened to in its entirety, and I believe I reviewed it a long time ago. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that I did. But either way, this is one of the few Iron Maiden albums I heard in its entirety before this discography was picked. And for me, listening to the record and realizing it was the final album at the current time, and it still is now currently as I'm filming this video, that The Final Frontier really captured those moments that I really liked of Iron Maiden, of the songs that I knew. Now, looking at the past 14 records up to The Final Frontier, now as I know all of these albums and I've reviewed all of them, I've listened to all of them from start to finish multiple times, I have a better understanding of The Final Frontier than I did before. Nothing really has changed because for me, The Final Frontier still feels to me a great album. An album that captures what I really like about Iron Maiden, and it feels like the guys are not trying to push too hard and try to go all hectic and crazy all over the place and write these very crazy and fast tracks just because they've done it in the past. You know, age is certainly catching up with them, but they're not slowing down in a sense of they were slowing down with putting out albums. They were still putting out albums. And currently right now they're not. But The Final Frontier at the current time was the final album from them. And I felt like with where they were at at the state of the band and thinking it's the final record, for me The Final Frontier I think really completes the discography. If they continue on and make another record after this, that's fine. But the way I look at it now, The Final Frontier to me at this point is the conclusion of Iron Maiden. And some people have looked at The Final Frontier and said it's okay, it could be better. And I understand that. I understand where people are coming from because The Final Frontier does feel kind of pulled back in a sense of where it's not full-forced Iron Maiden. And in some moments it is. Some moments we're getting that full-force Iron Maiden that we love and we love to hear. And we love to hear that aggression and the anger and the excitement from the band. And sometimes it's there, but a lot of the times it's not. There are some pulled back moments. And I understand why people may not like this record. But for me, I like all the things and all the sides of Iron Maiden we get to see throughout the years of their career. I like the melodic songs that are clean, are clean and some heavy guitar, but mostly clean guitar, and it's very smooth and peaceful. It's a mellow track. I love the full forced head-on collision riffs and those songs that just keep on going and it gets hectic and crazy and the guitars are doing this and melody, solo, and I love everything in between. I like those two opposite sides of Iron Maiden. I love the things in the middle where it can go mellow 1 minute and then hectic crazy 2 minutes and back to mellow here for 30 seconds and then hectic crazy for 2 more minutes. It doesn't matter. I like everything about Iron Maiden. I love Bruce Dickinson's vocals. I love the guitar work. I love Steve Harris's bass. Nicko McBrain on drums. Phenomenal. And The Final Frontier captures everything that I love about Iron Maiden. Could it be a better record? It could. But for what it is, The Final Frontier, for me, really captures what I love about Iron Maiden and what I loved about most of these records, or at least particular songs on albums that maybe I didn't like fully, but it still captured all those memorable moments, the things that you really love about Iron Maiden, and it really just brings it all to a nice close. Let me go through my personal favorite tracks on this record, as I always do here. Satellite 15, The Final Frontier. Now, one negative thing I do want to say about Satellite 15, The Final Frontier, it's not the entire track. Don't get me wrong on that. I feel like that the opening goes on for a very long time, and I like the drumming that Nicko McBrain does on the kind of intro before the vocals come in from Bruce Dickinson. I think it's kind of cool, but the intro just keeps on going forever, and they could have shortened that at least by a minute or maybe more, but it just keeps on going, and it's one of those things, like, I wish they didn't hold off that long to finally bring Bruce Dickinson in. They could have easily made this intro shorter. But the song overall, when we finally get to the Final Frontier section of the song, where it actually comes in, there's a beat, there's some riffs, there's some epic vocals from Bruce Dickinson, then the song does pick up and you're enjoying it. So I definitely think it's a good opening song, but the intro could have been shorter. El Dorado, 6:49. The intro is hectic and they're all playing, and honestly, I'm going to make a reference here and you guys can say, oh my god, I can't believe you did that. The intro to El Dorado reminds me of Hit the Lights by Metallica, the intro. I'm sorry it does. But then the next thing, as the bass comes in and then the riffs come in, when the bass comes in, leading up after that intro, then it sounds like Barracuda. With like, dun 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 dun, like, oh, Barracuda. It just reminds me of that. I've always had that thought since I first heard the track forever ago, when I first heard this album. But El Dorado is a good track. The Alchemist, I really enjoy the intro. I love the intro to The Alchemist. It's very classic Iron Maiden sounding. And it's a short track. It's a shorter track compared to the rest, but definitely a nice song to listen to. Starblind, 7 minutes and 48 seconds. And what I noticed about this, before I continue on, that there are some lengthy tracks. We got 8 minutes and 40 seconds, Satellite 15, The Final Frontier. We got Isles of Avalon, I'm probably mispronouncing the first word, track number 6, 9 minutes and 6 seconds. Starblind, 7 minutes 48 seconds. The Talisman, 9 minutes and 3 seconds. The Man Who Would Be King, 8 minutes and 28 seconds. When the Wild Wind Blows, 10 minutes 59 seconds. So you better be ready just to sit down and enjoy some Iron Maiden, because there are some very long tracks, especially in the second half of this album. So if you're a big fan of the Iron Maiden epics that go 7-8 minute plus long lengths, you're going to enjoy this album. But if you're not a big fan of the longer tracks from Iron Maiden, you're probably going to be turned off, especially the second half of this album. Anyways, let's continue on. Starblind, track number 7. I really enjoy this track. I love Bruce Dickinson. I really enjoy his performance on this track, and I really like the drums and the bass is another bonus as well. And guitars, of course. Everything's just good for that track, but Bruce Dickinson especially, I gotta give him props for Starblind. The Talisman, track number 8, same thing there as track number 7. Bruce Dickinson, I really enjoy how he takes on that track, and I like what he does on that song. And the guitar parts I especially enjoy. Pretty cool stuff there. Check that song out for those 2 reasons there. Track number 9, The Man Who Would Be King. I like this song before I even listened to it because of the title, The Man Who Would Be King. That is just a great track title of a track, and the song really does make up for it. I mean, it does clock in at 8 minutes and 28 seconds, but it is a good track, and I like the fact that it is the writers for that track, as it says, is Dave Murray and Steve Harris. So Dave Murray had some influence on the track, so that's pretty cool to see that. And the final track that I really want to talk about is my personal favorite track on the album, and it ends the album, When the Wild Wind Blows. And this track, to me, if you look at the entire discography leading up to The Final Frontier, and you see the final track, When the Wild Wind Blows, and you hear the song, to me, personally, it is the perfect way to end the Iron Maiden discography. It gets hectic in some cases. The intro is phenomenal. The intro to the song is phenomenal. I love it to death. I actually learned some of the intro on guitar because I loved it so much that I had to look up tabs for it. There's a section where they go dun 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 dun, like that little part dun 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 dun. That's probably kind of dumb that I'm doing that in a video, but I love that freaking melody. It's so freaking epic, and I repeat that section sometimes just by itself because it's so damn awesome, and you know where it is. You know that section if you know the song as well as I do. And I love the fact that it starts beautiful and mellow, and it ends beautiful and mellow just like it began, and the wind blowing, and then the album's done. And technically, if there's no more albums, the end of Iron Maiden. On a very good note, in my personal opinion, my favorite track, When the Wild Wind Blows. If I had to recommend one song from this entire record, it is When the Wild Wind Blows. It is 10 minutes, 59 seconds, all shy of 1 second of 11 minutes. It could be 11 minutes depending on, how it's ripped. But essentially, it's a long track, and it is worth every single second. Love the song to death. Personnel. I go through this every single time, and you guys know how I feel about the personnel. I'm going to name all of them right now and just get to the point and get through this because you guys all know what I'm going to say because I've said it before. If you've seen any of my past reviews that I've said positive things leading up to the personnel, you know what I'm going to say. So here we go. Bruce Dickinson, lead vocals. Dave Murray, Adrian Smith, Janick Gers, guitar. Steve Harris, bass, keyboards, co-producer. Nicko McBrain, drums. They all were fantastic. This album is awesome, and the guys sound awesome. The guitar parts are epic and great and beautiful. Bruce Dickinson's vocals and lyric content is great and fantastic. Steve Harris does a phenomenal job and a great job, and he does some really cool, awesome bass parts on this album. Nicko McBrain throws in some drum parts. If you really have to listen, especially, like, really listen to hear when Nicko McBrain is throwing in some stuff on the drums that you may miss if you're not really paying attention. So when you listen to these tracks a couple times, when you go back that next time, really listen to the drum parts, because Nicko McBrain is doing some really cool stuff that, for me, honestly, when I was listening to this album again, getting ready for this review, I caught some stuff that I forgot about or I never caught in the first place years ago. That's what happens. You really gotta pay attention. Nicko McBrain throws in some stuff and you may miss it. That's the beauty of it. He's really sneaky sometimes. So to end this off, this is the final review. You know, it's been fun. You know, it's been fun doing this discography. It's been fun to, you know, talk about albums. And it's, you know, it's great. And the fact that I got to end the final review on the final frontier, you know, as the last review is pretty awesome, you know. And I actually forgot to rate, I think, the last review, which was the Matter of Life and Death. So, you know, the Final Frontier for me is definitely a 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic track. See, I'm already losing my train of thought. Because, you know, I feel like the video should be over. I should be done. But 9 out of 10. Great album. Worth the listen. And currently, it's the end of Iron Maiden. It's the last record for Iron Maiden at this current time. But, you know, I'm going to say all this stuff basically in another video. But if you're still here, it's great. You know, this discography was fantastic. You know, starting from the very beginning and all the way to now, 15 albums. It's been a crazy journey. I went through, I discovered a lot of albums and particular tracks on albums that I had not heard previously before this discography, and I learned a lot of stuff. Basically, the last time that this happened was the Megadeth. Same thing happened there, you know, and so I have to thank each and every one of you who voted for the Iron Maiden discography, because it was a great journey, and I learned a lot of stuff, and it's been a fun and excitement journey. You know, and I'll never forget it, you know, because these albums are going to stick with me forever. So, thank you guys for watching. That is the review. That's my, you know, that's the end of the Iron Maiden discography. We're done. It's done. It's crazy. It's over. So, anyways, guys, what do you think of the Final Frontier? Let me know in the comment section below. I would like to hear your thoughts about this album, as critics reviewed this album and gave it a pretty positive reviews, but, you know, users a little bit different. They're probably think differently of this album than critics. So let me know in the comment section below what you think of the Final Frontier by Iron Maiden. You know my thoughts. 9 out of 10. Great album. Love it. Go back to it from time to time. When the Wild Wind Blows, my most recommended track from this album. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow, currently with basically the announcement of the last Q&A. Peace out.